a gun pressed against his temple, rain mixing with blood on the concrete. David Kim, heir to one of LA's most powerful Korean crime families, was on his knees in a dirty alley, about to lose everything his grandfather built. The camera rolled, the world watched, and in that moment the Kim family's 3-generation legacy died. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. The person who would resurrect their empire, restore their honor, and outsmart the deadliest cartel in Los Angeles wasn't a seasoned gangster, wasn't even Korean. She was a black woman bartender with a corporate past and nothing left to lose. If you think you know how this story ends, you're dead wrong. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to witness is one of the most brilliant strategic comebacks in criminal history. And before we dive in, drop a comment telling me, would you risk your life to save strangers? And smash that like button, because this story deserves to be heard. This is how Maya Johnson walked into the Korean underworld as an outsider and became the most dangerous strategist Koreatown had ever seen. This is how a black woman revived the Korean Mafia's lost manhood. The rain hit the asphalt like bullets as 3 Korean men knelt in the alley, hands behind their heads. David Kim's knees pressed against the wet concrete, his expensive suit soaking through. Above him, Carlos Mendez, second in command of the Los Zetas cartel, pressed a gun against his temple. "Say it again!" Carlos demanded in Spanish. Louder this time. David's jaw clenched. Blood trickled from his split lip. The Kim family apologizes. And? Carlos yanked David's head back by his hair. "We surrender our territory in Koreatown East." Carlos smiled, then ripped the gold ring from David's finger, the family heirloom passed down from his grandfather. "Now your pappy knows what happens when little boys play gangster." The video went live within an hour. By morning, every crew from San Francisco to San Diego had seen it. The mighty Kim family, pillars of the Korean underworld for 3 generations, humiliated, kneeling, begging. 3 months later, Maya Johnson wiped down the bar at Seoul Nights, watching the late crowd thin out. She'd been in Koreatown for 6 months now, running from her old life. Former corporate crisis consultant turned whistleblower turned nobody. She'd exposed her firm's CEO for embezzling pension funds and lost everything in return. Her career, her marriage, her reputation. Turns out being right doesn't matter when you're alone. The door burst open at 2 a.m. 3 men stumbled in, and Maya recognized the look immediately. Desperation wearing expensive clothes. The leader, young and handsome despite the alcohol on his breath, pointed at the back office. "Mr. Park, tell him David Kim wants his payment, now." The bartender, Mr. Park, was 60 and tired. "I already paid this month. That was to the Zetas. Now you pay us." Maya kept wiping glasses, but her mind was already working. She'd seen this play out 100 times in corporate boardrooms. Same desperation, different uniform. "You don't have the leverage," she said quietly. All 3 men turned. David squinted at her through his drunken haze. "What did you say? You're asking for protection money, but you can't actually protect him. The Zetas control this block. You're just hoping he's too scared to call your bluff." One of David's men stepped forward. "Lady, you should shut your mouth before..." "Before what?" Maya set down her glass and looked David directly in the eyes. "You've already lost. Everyone knows it. This isn't strategy. It's begging with attitude." David's face flushed red. His hand moved toward his waistband, and for a moment Maya wondered if she'd finally pushed too far. But something in his expression shifted. The anger crumbled, revealing something worse underneath. Shame. "You think you know everything?" His voice cracked. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to watch my father have a stroke because I fucked up? Watch our family become a joke?" The room went silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. Maya studied him carefully. Not just a thug, a desperate man trying to rebuild something broken. She recognized that look. She'd seen it in her mirror every morning for 6 months. "Give me 3 days," she said. "What?" 3 days. I'll get you Mr. Park's payment and his loyalty, but you do exactly what I say." David laughed bitterly. "Why would you help me?" Because I'm bored. And because you're right about one thing. You can't keep failing. It'll kill your father." David studied her face, searching for the angle, the con. Maya kept her expression neutral. She'd learned that trick in boardrooms full of men who thought they were smarter than her. 3 days, he finally said. "But if you're playing me, you'll what?" Kneel in another alley? Maya grabbed her coat. My name's Maya Johnson, and for the record, I already know how to fix this. The question is whether you're smart enough to listen. The next morning, Maya followed Mr. Park. Not threatening, just observing. She watched him open his shop, serve customers, close up, then watched him drive to a building in downtown LA. She waited 2 hours before he emerged, shoulders slumped, envelope in hand. She followed him to 3 more locations, same pattern. By day 3, she had what she needed. She met David at a coffee shop in neutral territory. He looked worse than before, eyes bloodshot, hand shaking slightly as he lifted his cup. Mr. Park gambles, Maya said without preamble. Owes $60,000 to an underground Chinese operation. They're bleeding him dry, that's why he can barely pay anyone. David frowned. So what? That's his problem. No, that's your opportunity. The people he owes? They're not protected. No affiliation. You offer Park a deal. You pay off his debt. He pays you back over 2 years at low interest, plus protection from anyone else who comes collecting. Why would I pay 60 grand for? Because you're not buying his business. You're buying his loyalty, his gratitude, his testimony to every other shop owner that the Kim family actually protects people, that you're not just muscle, you're problem solvers. Maya leaned forward. The Zetas take money. You're going to invest in people. That's how you rebuild. David stared at her. That's actually smart. I know. Now finish your coffee. We have a gambling den to visit. The gambling den was in a warehouse that smelled of cigarette smoke and desperation. Maya walked in first, David and his 2 men trailing behind. The owner, a thin Chinese man in his 50s, looked up from his desk. We're here about Mr. Park's debt, Maya announced. The owner smiled without warmth. He has until Friday to pay, or we take his shop. We'll pay it, right now, full amount. Maya nodded to David, who placed an envelope on the desk. On one condition, you never contact Mr. Park again. He's under Kim family protection now. The owner counted the money slowly, then looked at David with amusement. The Kim family? I heard you boys were finished. David's jaw clenched, but Maya touched his arm gently. Wait, check the envelope again, she said calmly. There's an extra 10,000. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. The Kim family doesn't make enemies when we can make allies. The owner's expression shifted. Surprise, then calculation. Goodwill? We know you run clean games, legitimate operation, just unlicensed. The Kim family could make problems for you, or we could look the other way, maybe even send business your way. All we ask is that you remember who treated you with respect today. After a long pause, the owner nodded. Tell Mr. Kim his father would be proud. This is old school thinking. Outside, David grabbed Maya's shoulder. What was that? The extra money, the alliance talk? That's called strategy. He'll spread word that the Kim family is back to doing business properly. Not thugs. Not desperate. Powerful enough to be generous. Maya pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. Also, I documented his illegal operation. If he ever betrays you, he knows you can shut him down. Carrot and stick, David. Always carrot and stick. David stared at her. Who the hell are you? Someone who used to fix unfixable problems for companies worth billions. Now I'm fixing them for you. Come on, we need to see Mr. Park. At the shop, Mr. Park nearly cried when they explained the deal. He'd pay back the Kim family over 2 years, low interest, no threats. In exchange, they'd protect his business and his family. Why? Mr. Park asked, voice trembling. Why would you do this? David glanced at Maya, then straightened his shoulders. Because the Kim family protects Koreatown. We forgot that for a while. We won't forget again. After they left, David's men, Tommy and Jin, looked at their boss with new eyes. That was different, Tommy said carefully. Yeah, David replied, watching Maya walk ahead of them. It was. That night, Maya received a text from an unknown number, an address in the hills. When she arrived, she found herself at a traditional Korean compound, all clean lines and careful landscaping. David met her at the gate. He wants to meet you, he said quietly. Your father? Yeah, fair warning, he's not easy to impress. The house was beautiful inside, mixing traditional Korean aesthetics with modern security. They walked through hallways lined with family photographs until they reached a sitting room. An older man sat in a wheelchair, his face partially paralyzed from the stroke, but his eyes sharp and calculating. Next to him stood an elderly woman in traditional hanbok, her expression unreadable. This is the woman? Mr. Kim's words were slightly slurred but understandable. Yes, father. This is Maya Johnson. Mr. Kim studied her for a long moment, then he spoke in Korean. David translated. He asks why a black woman wants to help a Korean crime family. Maya had prepared for this. Tell him I don't help people. I solve problems. His problem is that everyone thinks the Kim family is finished. I can change that perception. David translated. His father's eyes narrowed. The grandmother spoke for the first time, her English perfect. My husband, David's grandfather, once lost everything too. Do you know how he rebuilt? By understanding that reputation matters more than territory, Maya replied. By knowing when to bend so he wouldn't break. By making allies instead of enemies. The grandmother smiled slightly. You've done research. I always do. Mr. Kim spoke again, longer this time. David translated. He says you helped us with one shopkeeper. That doesn't restore a family's honour. He asks what you would need to truly rebuild our reputation. Maya pulled out her laptop. She'd been preparing this for 2 days. 6 weeks, $60,000 in operational funds, and complete trust. I need David to follow my instructions exactly, even when they don't make sense. Especially then. And what do you get in return? The grandmother asked. $50,000 plus expenses, and a clean exit from Los Angeles with no one looking for me. Mr. Kim spoke without needing translation this time. Deal. But if you fail, the money won't protect you. I won't fail, Maya said simply, because I can't afford to either. After she left, the grandmother turned to her son. What do you think? Mr. Kim's good hand moved in a slight gesture. She's running from something. People running usually don't look back, but maybe that's what we need, someone with nothing to lose. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya transformed the Kim family's operations. She started with intelligence gathering, hiring local kids to watch and report on Zeta's movements. Not for violence, but for patterns. When do they collect? Who are their suppliers? Where are they vulnerable? She taught David about the Korean concept of noon-chi, reading the room, understanding unspoken dynamics. You can't just take power, she explained during a late-night strategy session. You have to make people want to give it to you. They started small. A Korean restaurant was being harassed by the Zetas for protection money. Instead of fighting, Maya had David offer the owner a partnership. The Kim family would cover his first 3 months of payments to the Zetas. No strings attached. Just goodwill. That's insane, David protested. We're paying our enemies? We're buying time and reputation. Watch. The restaurant owner told other business owners. The Kim family wasn't fighting the Zetas. They were helping people survive them. Within a week, 5 more businesses approached David privately. They wanted to work with someone who understood their struggles. But Maya's real plan was more complex. She'd been studying the Zetas' operation and found something interesting. Marcus Chen, a former Kim family lieutenant who'd betrayed them 3 months ago, was now working with the Zetas. She'd tracked his movements, his communications, and she'd found his weakness. Marcus is skimming, Maya told David one night, spreading photos across the table. See these deposits? He's supposed to deliver 100% of collections to Carlos. He's keeping 15%. David's eyes widened. Carlos will kill him if he finds out. Exactly, which is why Marcus is going to help us. They found Marcus at a nightclub, surrounded by bottle service and women who didn't care about his name. David's men grabbed him before he could run, dragging him to a private room. Maya walked in last, calm and collected. Marcus sneered despite his fear. Come to kill me, the great Kim family, so honourable. We're not here to kill you, Maya said, sitting across from him. We're here to save your life. She slid the evidence across the table. Bank statements, photos, timestamps. Marcus's face went pale. Carlos doesn't know yet, Maya continued, but he will, unless you do exactly what we say. You want me to betray them? Marcus laughed desperately. They'll kill me anyway. Not if you do it right. You're going to arrange a meeting between the Kim family and Carlos. Tell him we want to negotiate a truce, that we're admitting defeat and want to pay tribute. He'll never believe it. He will if it comes from you. You're his inside man, his success story. Maya leaned forward. Here's what you don't understand, Marcus. Carlos is already suspicious of you. I've made sure of it. Little whispers to his other lieutenants. Questions about your loyalty. The deposits I'm going to anonymously tip them about. You're already dead. I'm offering you a chance to live. Marcus's hands shook. What do you want me to do? Over the next week, Marcus played his part perfectly. He convinced Carlos that the Kim family was broken and ready to submit. They agreed to meet at a neutral warehouse on Friday night. David was terrified. This is suicide, he told Maya the night before. We walk in there, they'll kill us all. They won't, because we're not going to threaten them. We're going to give Carlos exactly what he wants. What's that? To look smart instead of strong. Maya had spent weeks preparing for this moment. She'd researched Carlos Mendez thoroughly. Former military, climbed ranks through intelligence, not violence. A strategist who hated waste. She'd also discovered something interesting through her network of informants. Carlos's own lieutenant, Roberto, had been embezzling from their supply chain. Small amounts, but consistent. The warehouse was cold and echoing when they arrived. Carlos sat at a table with 6 armed men around him. David, Maya, Tommy, and Jin walked in unarmed as promised. Carlos smiled. Come to kneel again, David? No, Maya said before David could respond. We came to make you rich. Carlos's smile faded. Excuse me? Maya placed a folder on the table. Your Lieutenant Roberto has been skimming from your Mexican suppliers 40,000 over 6 months. The evidence is in here, receipts, bank transfers, everything. Carlos didn't open the folder, but his jaw tightened. Why would you give me this? Because we don't want war. We want mutual respect. Maya sat down uninvited. The Kim family made mistakes. We got cocky, overextended, but we've learned. We're not interested in your territory. We want to rebuild ours with a clear understanding. You stay out of Koreatown West and the business district. We stay out of your zones. No conflict, no waste, no heat from police. And if I just kill you and take everything? Then you look weak. You look like someone who can't make deals. Only threats. Your Mexican suppliers will wonder why you needed to eliminate a broken family instead of making them useful allies. Plus, you'll miss the opportunity I'm about to offer. Carlos leaned back. Which is? The Kim family has connections to Korean import-export businesses, legitimate fronts, established relationships with customs. You want to move product more efficiently? We can help. Partnership, not tribute. We both make money. The room was silent except for the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Carlos studied Maya's face, searching for deception. Finally, he opened the folder. His expression darkened as he read. Roberto, he called without looking up. One of his men stepped forward. Carlos showed him the documents. This true? Roberto's face went white. Carlos, I can explain. Get out! You have 1 hour to leave Los Angeles. Roberto ran. Carlos turned back to Maya. You could have used this to blackmail me. No, I could have used it to make you look foolish. Instead, I gave you the chance to handle it yourself, with dignity. That's the Kim family's offer. We help you look good. You let us rebuild with honor. No submission, no victory, just business. Carlos studied her for a long moment, then looked at David. You trust this woman? David straightened. With my life. Smart. She's dangerous. Carlos stood and extended his hand. Tell your father we have a truce. Koreatown West is yours again. And about that import-export business, have someone call me next week. As they walked out, David was shaking. I can't believe that worked. It worked because Carlos is smart, Maya replied. Smart people prefer profitable peace over expensive war. You just have to show them the math. They returned to the compound after midnight. Mr. Kim was still awake, the grandmother beside him. When David explained what happened, tears filled the old man's eyes. The ring, he said in Korean. Did he return it? David's face fell. They'd forgotten to ask, but Maya pulled a small box from her pocket. Inside was the gold ring. I had Marcus steal it back 2 days ago. Figured we'd need a symbolic gesture if things went south. Guess we don't need it now. She handed it to Mr. Kim, who clutched it to his chest. The grandmother wiped her eyes and spoke in Korean. David translated. She says you've restored more than our territory. You've reminded us who we are. The next month was transformative. Word spread through Koreatown that the Kim family was back, but different. They weren't the young punks who got humiliated. They were the family that turned enemies into partners, that protected their people, that chose strategy over violence. Business owners who'd avoided them now sought them out. The import-export deal with Carlos proved profitable for both sides. David stopped drinking and started attending community meetings. He wasn't just a gangster anymore. He was becoming a leader. Maya watched it all from the sidelines, consulting, advising, fixing problems before they became crises. But she knew it couldn't last. She'd never been good at staying. 6 weeks after the warehouse meeting, she packed her bags. The grandmother found her in the guest room she'd been using. "You're leaving. The job's done. Your family is stable. David doesn't need me anymore." The grandmother sat on the bed. "May I tell you a story?" Maya nodded. "When I married into this family, I was nobody. A girl from a poor village, chosen because my father owed a debt. I didn't speak the language, didn't understand the culture. For years, I was invisible." She smiled sadly. "Then one day, the family nearly fell apart. Internal fighting, bad decisions. My husband, the great patriarch, was ready to give up, so I stopped being invisible. I learned the business, made alliances, solved problems no one else could see. And do you know what I learned? What? That sometimes outsiders see us more clearly than we see ourselves. You helped this family, Maya, but I think we helped you too." Maya's throat tightened. "I don't know what you mean. You've been running from your old life, from your failures, from yourself. But these weeks, watching you work, I saw something change. You remembered who you are, not just a fixer, a leader." "I destroyed my old life because I couldn't compromise." "No, you destroyed it because you chose truth over comfort. That's not a flaw, that's integrity." The grandmother stood. "You can keep running, or you can accept that maybe you've already found what you were looking for." That night there was a small gathering. Mr. Kim had recovered enough to walk with a cane. He gave a speech in Korean that David translated. "3 months ago, I thought my family's legacy was finished. My son had failed. Our name was worthless. I was ready to die in shame." His voice cracked. "Then this woman, this outsider, showed us we hadn't lost our strength. We'd lost our way. She didn't restore our manhood. She reminded us that true power comes from wisdom, loyalty, and courage to change. The Kim family is forever in her debt." He bowed deeply. A patriarch bowing to a black woman who'd walked into their world as a stranger. Everyone else bowed too. Maya felt tears threatening and fought them back. "I just solved problems. You did the hard part. You changed." David stepped forward. "Stay. Be our permanent advisor. Name your price." It was tempting. It was tempting to belong somewhere again, to have purpose. But Maya had learned something about herself these past weeks. She wasn't meant to build kingdoms. She was meant to save them, then move on before she became what she'd destroyed in her old life. Before she became comfortable, complacent, compromised. "I can't," she said softly. "But I'll tell you what I can do. If you ever need me, really need me, call. I'll come back." David hugged her, something he'd never done before. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." The grandmother gave Maya traditional Korean bojagi, a wrapping cloth, "for your next journey, to carry your burdens and your blessings." The next morning, Maya drove out of Koreatown as the sun rose. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. Just a photo. Him standing with his father, both smiling, the family compound in the background. Underneath, "We're opening a community centre, teaching kids about their heritage, offering job training, legitimate business, because of you." Maya smiled and kept driving. 3 months later, she sat in a small office in Seattle, a modest space, nothing fancy, just a desk, a computer, and a sign on the door. Maya Johnson Consulting, impossible problems only. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya Johnson speaking. "Miss Johnson? My name is Linda Chen. I run a struggling women's shelter in Portland. We're being forced out by developers and the city won't help. And I heard about what you did in Los Angeles. And I know this sounds crazy, but..." "Text me the address," Maya interrupted. "I'll be there tomorrow." She hung up and looked at the photo on her desk. The Kim family, smiling. David had sent it with a note. "You didn't just save our family. You taught us that honor isn't about never falling. It's about how you rise." Maya had spent years thinking her gift for seeing solutions, for speaking uncomfortable truths, for refusing to accept injustice, had destroyed her life. But maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe it hadn't destroyed anything. Maybe it had just been waiting for the right purpose. She grabbed her laptop and her grandmother's bahagi and headed for the door. Somewhere in Portland, impossible problems were waiting, and Maya Johnson was exactly the kind of woman who knew how to solve them. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, strategy, and unlikely alliances, hit that subscribe button for more incredible true stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought about Maya's journey. Did she make the right choice leaving? Could you have done what she did? And smash that like button to help this story reach more people who need to hear it. Remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is help others remember who they really are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.